From the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, this is the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. We take questions from anyone in the dental profession and discuss what it takes to win not only in dentistry, but in life. Business, leadership, relationships, parenting, health and wellness, money management, nothing is off limits on the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. I'm Jason Tenori, your host, and have over 20 years of experience to pull from. Learn from my mistakes and let me help you collapse time so you can become the best version of yourself. Yo, Dr. Jason here, Dental Lighthouse Podcast. It is Monday the 8th, right? We're a week away from the trial run of the Better Than Yesterday 4 Futures challenge. If you'd like to join us, I would encourage you to go to the dentallighthouse.com, fill in your name and your email on that homepage, and Kenzie will send you the PDF on what we're doing. It's just an awesome opportunity to get better, right? So I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole right now talking about it. I've done that before, but man, it's a great exercise. It's one that I've used for a number of years successfully. You can be at a beginner and do this challenge. You can be advanced and do this challenge. I consider myself a little bit more on the advanced side of things because I've been doing it for so long. So it's been fun trying to figure out what I'm going to do to push myself in this challenge. And one of the things that I just came up with this morning was I think I'm going to give up coffee for the 7 days, and I'm going to replace coffee with a 60-second ice bath first thing in the morning. Literally from my bed, I'm going to psych myself up to jump out of my bed and into the ice bath for 60 seconds, 90 seconds. And the hope is the adrenaline and the dopamine and how I feel coming out of that will replace any need for coffee. I was watching a video over the weekend on YouTube about ice baths, and the guy used the analogy. He's like, it's like 5-hour energy and a double espresso had a baby. That's how you feel when you get out of this thing. And there's some truth to that. Like, it's the worst ever getting into it. But man, when you get out of it, it's like, whoa. So maybe that's something that you consider. If you don't have an ice bath, cold shower, it's not the same exact thing, but man, it's better. Especially if it's better than nothing, especially if you're like a beginner in this journey. Start with a cold shower. Anyways, I wanted to answer an email that I got on today's episode. I'm going to read the email. Now, obviously, the problem with emails is I can't ask follow-up questions, and I love asking follow-up questions, but I'll make some assumptions because I'm sure a lot of you guys are dealing with this, or I hope you're not, but I would guess some of you are, and maybe just some things to think about. So the email says, "Hey, Jason, I am concerned about my schedule. So many hygiene patients and a really good number of new patients as well, but my schedule is half empty. I was booked for 2 months, and all of a sudden I'm seeing a big drop in production in the month of November, and December does not look that great either. I would like to know if there's a dip that everyone can feel, or is this an opportunity for me to huddle with my team leads and either find and develop a good strategy?" So super relevant, right? So again, I won't be able to solve this, but I just want to ask better questions. And I want to communicate to you that if this is something that you're dealing with, perhaps we figure out a way to ask better questions in the hope that in the future, we can prevent this from happening. So if his hygiene schedule is full and he's got lots of new patients, then I would assume that the reason that he is seeing a downward turn in his schedule, apologize for my dogs, is that he has been rushed with doing hygiene exams and new patient exams, and he's not treatment planning as much as he typically does. And the downstream effects of that are a schedule that's not as full as you want it. This happens to my doctors and it happened to me all the time. So as you guys know, I love the ratio of two hygienists to one doctor. Um, if if we find ourselves doing like a three, that's my for those of you on the video, I'll show you my dog. He's like 11 and he coughs. He's got some type of trachea thing going on. But anyways, back to the program. For 2-to-1 ratio is perfect. So I'll work out of two columns with two assistants. I'm busy, but I've built in enough of a buffer, whereas I can go check on those two hygienists. I can spend time with them doing the exam, with the patient doing the exam. If there's a 90-minute new patient exam in hygiene, I can not come across as rushed. I can find out what the patient wants. I can treatment plan accordingly. And things tend to work out. When the ratio gets to 3-to-1, three hygienists to one doctor, either because you can't find another provider or because there's one of your docs is on vacation or whatever it is. If the ratio gets 3-to-1, if the ratio gets 4-to-1, it's been my experience only every single time that the hygiene exams tend to be rushed. The case presentation tends to be abbreviated. The patient education tends to suffer. And two specific things happen. You're not presenting nearly as much comprehensive dentistry as you normally do because you don't really have the time to unpack it with the patient. And because there's this sense of rushing, the patient is much less likely to say yes to treatment. So you might be able to get out the treatment plan, but because you got one foot out the door and the patient senses that, trust me, they sense that, they're less likely to say yes to treatment. And in their mind, they're like, well, we can talk about this at my next cleaning appointment. So those are two things. And again, without me being able to ask extra questions to this particular doctor, I don't know for sure, but those are the two things that come to mind. Now, how do we prevent those two things from ever occurring? Well, one is obviously try to keep the ratio of hygiene to doctor 2-to-1, right? If you're going to be in a situation because there's another doctor on vacation or because you're growing and you're the only doctor, now you have three hygienists or four hygienists, you have to schedule your two columns less tight, right? So no 30-minute appointments, even stuff like crown deliveries and things that normally take you 15, 20 minutes, block an hour in a second chair to give yourself a buffer. It's not the ideal solution, but it's a band-aid to get through a season of when you have way too much hygiene to check. Um, another solution is bypassing hygiene exams for patients that did not have any x-rays taken and have no outstanding treatment. Now, we don't just tell the patient we're not going to do your exam. We give them the option. And I would say roughly half of our patients will say, I didn't know no updated x-rays today. Nothing's bothering me. I know I don't have anything outstanding. The hygienist will back that up and say, you look great. They can scoot out of the office without a doctor exam. So those are a couple strategies to deal with it. A couple scorecard or metric strategies to consider. Two KPIs that I absolutely love. They're on a majority of my scorecards. The first one is doctor treatment planned dentistry and it's like a dollar amount, right? And as a general rule, I want to make sure that I'm being held accountable to treatment planning roughly 3 times the amount of dentistry I want to do. So if in a given week, and we track all of this stuff weekly. So if in a given week, I hope to produce $50,000 as the dentist, then I need to present $150,000 on a weekly basis. Now, some weeks will be 200, some weeks will be 125, but on average, I want to present at least 3 times what I'm expected to produce, assuming your case acceptance rate is in between 30 and 35%, which a lot of you guys are. Now, if you're a specialist, your case acceptance is probably a little bit higher, so you don't need to present 3 times. It could be 2 times, might be 2.5 times. But for most of you out there listening, your general dentist and your case acceptance is probably in the 30 to 40% range. Again, remember, case acceptance is defined as dollars scheduled over dollars presented, right? So if you present $10,000 worth of dentistry, but the patient only schedules $1,000 of that, then your case acceptance is 10%. So when you track treatment dollars presented on a weekly basis, it can really give you some insight as to if you're starting to fall off because you're so busy with hygiene, right? That's the first metric that I really, really like. And we look at it on a weekly basis. The next metric that I really like to focus on is dollars scheduled over the next 4 weeks. Now, this can be a whole office thing, but if I was this particular doctor, I would make it just a doctor thing. So again, let's using the example, let's say that this doctor is doing 200 grand a month. Let's make it more realistic. Let's say he's doing 100 grand a month by himself. So if he's doing 100 grand a month by himself, that means he's doing $25,000 a week. And what I like to see is a certain percentage of that goal scheduled 4 weeks out. Now, the percentage is going to be dependent on how comfortable you are with open chair time. So if you're not comfortable with open chair time and you sleep better if you're booked out solid 2 to 2.5 weeks, then you would take that $100,000 number. You would take like 80 or 85% of that. That's the goal. So let's call it 85%. So your goal is $85,000. For the next 4 weeks, I want to have at least $85,000 scheduled, right? If you're more comfortable with some openings here and there, if you believe in built-in opportunities for same-day treatment, then that $100,000 goal that you have over the next month, I might take 60% of that, right? So the goal for treatment scheduled 4 weeks out might be 60 grand, not 85 grand. So have the goal of what you expect to produce over the next 4 weeks, and then take a percentage of that and track that on a weekly basis. And every week you look at your scorecard. And if you're above goal, then you're in a good place. What will happen if, like this doctor sent me via email, what will happen if the schedule starts to slow down is you'll be able to pick up on that much, much sooner than that week or that day, because you're starting to see this number trend down. And what we like to do is after a week or two, if that number's trending down, it gives us, a red flag. It's like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? Right? It gives you an opportunity to kind of take a step back and start to peel back the onion a little bit and be like, why is this number trending down? I wonder how much treatment I'm presenting, or I wonder what our case acceptance is, or I wonder how far we're scheduling new patients out, or a number of other questions that you should be asking. Again, don't forget, data is not good or bad. It just is. It's what you do with that data that's going to ultimately define your success. So if you look at some of these data points that I just unpacked for you, and you just say, oh, okay, that sucks, and don't do anything about it, then why are you even measuring it? When you have this data in line and you make decisions based on if you're above goal or below goal, that's where the true magic happens. That's where you can start to get out in front of situations before they become dire. So those are some strategies that I think could really help this particular doctor. The other thing to think about, and again, this may sound elementary, but a lot of doctors don't think about this, is let's say they're averaging $200,000 a month as an office, and they look at their November numbers and it was 170, right? And they're like, oh, we had a bad November. Shit's hitting the fan. What are we going to do? But they don't think about, okay, so in a given, let's say you have 20 days, right? Let's say there's 20 working days in a month, and you're doing $10,000 a day. That's 200 grand, right? But for November, you took off Thursday, Thanksgiving. You took off Friday for Thanksgiving, and maybe you worked a half day on Wednesday, right? You let the team out early. So that's 2.5 days of non-production, right? At $10,000 a day, 2.5 days is $25,000. So yeah, you had a $175,000 month, and that's $25,000 below what you normally do, but you were gone for 2.5 days. Like, give yourself some grace. Like, you don't beat yourself up for having a month where you were lower $25,000 than you normally are, but you weren't there for 2.5 days. Now, you can develop a strategy to combat that. And that's what we do in some of our offices. If we know we're going to be off for the holidays, then we'll work an extra day here or there just to make up for it. And we do that from a profit sharing perspective because we want to be able to share profits with the team. But man, like it's simple math. If you're not going to be in the office for 2.5 days due to Thanksgiving, your numbers are going to go down. It is what it is. So again, without knowing some of these details or some additional context, it's hard to really give this particular doctor some real specific advice. But I hope some of those things that I just unpacked will give you some insight as to kind of how my mind works when I'm seeing trends that are going in the wrong direction. So do whatever you can to keep that hygiene ratio 2-to-1. Do whatever you can to make sure that you're not getting up past 150 exams per month per doctor. You may think that you're Superman, but the reality is once you get really, really high in exams, once you start to chase 3 or 4 hygienists by yourself, you're human, dude. You're a human being, and you're going to start to feel rushed. You're going to start to miss things, and you're going to start to see your schedule develop holes because you're not presenting treatment the way that you typically do. So hope this helps, guys. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. Remember, get over to thedentallighthouse.com. Join us for our Better Than Yesterday 4 Futures Challenge. Excited to go on this journey with you. We'll be having conversations on our public Dental Lighthouse Facebook group. I just shared there what I'm planning on doing for the 7-day trial run. It's a lot, and now I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to accomplish it all. But that's why we're doing a trial run, right? I don't want to set myself up for failure, so we'll give it a try. If I can accomplish it, great. I'll take it to January. If I can't accomplish it, great. I'll make some modifications. Love you guys. Talk soon. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of the Dental Lighthouse podcast. You have a choice today. Choose to be a lighthouse. Lighthouses are powerful and steadfast. They are beacons of light for others to reference when life gets turbulent. Go out into the world today and become a lighthouse for someone. Give more than you get. True joy comes from serving others. Start today. I'm Jason Tenori, your host. Thank you for listening to the Dental Lighthouse podcast. For more information, podcast show notes, or links to anything that we have discussed today, please check out our website, thedentallighthouse.com. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to get on the show, please email us at podcast@thedentallighthouse.com.